So is the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad, blackmailing Trump? And what connections does Epstein have to Mossad? All over the internet today, a major publication is set to publish a bombshell on Epstein. People were speculating that it had to do specifically with Trump. Sources close to Redacted have told us that no, that's not the story. The story is Israeli intelligence and Epstein. So we're watching that minute by minute. We will bring that to you as soon as we have it. Meanwhile, others are saying, in fact, a friend of the show, Judge Napolitano, Andrew Napolitano, just dropped this bombshell saying that, yes, it's true that Mossad is, in fact, blackmailing President Trump in order really to keep the Epstein files from coming out. Watch Judge Napolitano.
I think Trump's name is on the list. I think Mossad knows it. I think Mossad told their American stenographer, who happens to be the director of the CIA, who takes down and regurgitates everything Mossad told him. And I think that stenographer whispered it into the president's ear. And he's terrified that this will come out because he knows it will be the beginning of the end, whether there's a Republican Congress or a Democrat Congress. That's what I honestly believe has happened. Now, obviously, I haven't seen the files.
Also, ex-Israeli spy Ari Ben-Menashe, just a short time ago, now says that, yes, Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent. He is an ex-Israeli spy, of course, working for Mossad, and says, yes, this is true, that Epstein was working for Mossad. Watch.
Because the mainstream media narrative is, we don't know about Ghislaine Maxwell. She denies all wrongdoing. And basically, Epstein was a pedophile and was a successful banker. He made lots of money, and he was a criminal pedophile, and he died in a jail awaiting justice. That's the story. Nothing to do with Mossad, nothing to do with the Israeli military intelligence, nothing to do with Israel.
Yeah, they would deny it. It's a real bad story, and they would deny it. But he was put straight with the Israelis by Robert Maxwell at the time, a military intelligence, and started working there for them.
Started working there for them. He was placed there specifically through the hands of Robert Maxwell, of course. Harrison Berger's an independent journalist, host of No Tribe on YouTube. He joins us now to break this all down as we're watching this breaking news happening in real time. Harrison, welcome back to the show. Good to see you. What do you make of these connections to Mossad?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see you again. Well, obviously, I would say that the most obvious connection is with Ghislaine Maxwell. Her father, as that former Israeli spy just mentioned, was Robert Maxwell, who was this, British media oligarch, staunch Zionist, and someone who Seymour Hersh and Gordon Brown, among others, separately accused of being an Israeli spy. And immediately after it became basically publicly known that Robert Maxwell was probably this Israeli spy, Maxwell just suddenly and mysteriously died. Further, there's the question of Epstein's source of wealth. It's all very mysterious, but it appears to be with these Zionist oligarchs. I mean, I'd say particularly Les Wexner, who founded this mega group, this Israel lobby group, which their purpose, they said in the 1990s, was to influence U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, and that's exactly what they did. Murray Farmer, who's one of Epstein's first accusers, said that Les Wexner abducted her, that he trapped her in his compound for Epstein and Maxwell to sexually assault. And then there's this question of, how Epstein was able to evade what would kind of typically be this harsh sentence for his crimes. And I say typically because there's many other powerful people that have been caught doing exactly the same thing as Epstein. And, they've been justly punished. I think Dennis Hastert is a good example of that. But Epstein, for some reason, was able to serve this very light sentence and walk away in this very unexplainable way. And according to Vicky Ward, which she actually just reaffirmed yesterday to Megyn Kelly, Alex Acosta, the U.S. attorney that was prosecuting the Epstein case, was told that Epstein belonged to intelligence and basically that he should leave it alone. And then there's obviously this strange relationship between, Epstein and Ehud Barak. and Les Wexner, actually. Barack was practically roommates with Epstein at one point, basically visiting his New York City mansion that he owned all the time, at least 30 times, even investing in an Israeli surveillance company with Jeffrey Epstein. And at the same time, he was receiving all this money from the Wexner foundations for just these really unclear reasons. And then finally, there's, all the surveillance cameras and these tapes that were wired in to each of Epstein's properties that were exactly what one might expect to find in a, CIA intelligence operation. That's by no means an extensive list of the evidence, but it's certainly enough for people to say, as Tucker did, that, most people in D.C. do believe that Epstein was this Israeli intelligence asset. And the denials from the Trump administration, they're not even denying it, actually. They won't even address that question, which makes it, even more mysterious.
Ladies and gentlemen, our world is being poisoned. Every day we're exposed to more chemicals sprayed into our skies, leaching into our food, polluting our air and water from pesticides, heavy metals, hormone disruptors, synthetic additives. These toxins are bombarding our bodies and silently destroying our health. But there's something you can do to fight back, and it starts right in your gut. Kimchi 1 from our friends at Brightcore Nutrition contains over 900 strains of beneficial probiotics that help flush toxins, restore gut balance, and support your immune system. When your gut is strong, your body can resist all of this. You'll feel the difference: better digestion, more energy, clearer thinking, stronger immunity, even improvements to your skin, hair, and metabolism. This isn't just hype. Studies show that fermented foods like kimchi can reduce the risk of obesity, improve blood sugar, support whole body wellness. And Kimchi 1 is an all-natural, non-GMO, dairy-free, gluten-free, 100% made in the USA by a company that actually cares about your health. And today you can get 25% off your order by using the code REDACTED. Just go to mybrightcore.com/redacted. I take it every day. I take 3 of these pills every day, and it's fantastic. For the best deal, call, and actually you can actually save more than that. You get 50% off if you just get on the phone and call them. So you get 25% off if you just go to the website. You get 50% off and free shipping if you call their 800 number and actually talk to their team. They're an American team. 888-404-6312. And you'll even get a free bottle of vitamin D3 with your order if you just get on the phone with them and call them. Get up. Seriously. mybrightcore.com/redacted. Get 25% off. Or if you call them, 888-404-6312 for 50% off and free shipping. Yeah.
Now, so if you and I can see this, anyone who looks can see all of these connections. What do you think then would be the possible motivation for the Trump administration trying to bury this?
I mean, the most obvious one is that this does not look good for Israel. Israel obviously doesn't have good public support in the United States right now. The problem is that it's bad for Trump. At least 40% of Republicans are satisfied, but, most are not. And the majority of the public isn't satisfied, according to the latest Quinnipiac poll that I just saw yesterday. So it's obviously to protect Israel. We know, first of all, that, Trump receives all this money from the Adelsons, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's practically his base. And so for Trump to go against Israel at this time, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Of course, you're not really supposed to talk about that. You're not supposed to say that, Trump, that Epstein was probably this Israeli intelligence asset, because as Tucker Carlson said, that's a naughty thing to do. But again, the floodgates are open, and this is what much of the public believes. And I'd say the other aspect to this for why he can't really reveal it is because, Epstein, when he lived his life, he was practically untouchable. Which is what makes this disclosure even more difficult. It's just how well connected Epstein was to, Wall Street and Silicon Valley and all these other major financial institutions. Actually, Ron Wyden said yesterday that the government has possession of all these secret bank filings, at least, $1.5 billion in suspicious wire transfers that Epstein made, involving some of the most powerful oligarchs in the world. And that, of course, hasn't been revealed at all. Trump says that the people who have questions about this are basically deplorable. So I think just the connections that Epstein had to those powerful people and how it would expose Israel just kind of explains why none of this is coming out.
And do you put any stock into Trump's personal exposure?
I mean, there's all those videos that are really strange. They were published by NBC in 2019 when this first broke. I remember it. All those pictures, not just of Trump, but Bill Clinton too, receiving massages from some of the victims. It's all very possible that he's implicated. But I'm someone who, again, won't say you're guilty unless you've had a trial. Sure. But it is very suspicious and probably likely, I'd say. Yeah.
Speaking of trials, speaking of special prosecutions, we just learned from the White House, and the White House just confirmed that President Trump is not going to appoint a special counsel to look into this. So just, throw that away, get that out of there. And a lot of these connections have been reported for a couple of years. Whitney Webb in her great book, One Nation Under Blackmail, in volume 2, I believe. She really dove deeply into Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, as a known intelligence asset. She has maintained not necessarily Mossad, but Israeli intelligence, army intelligence connections. And then, of course, then others have covered this as well. We've covered this for years here on the show. Candace Owens has done a great job in all of this. But now we're hearing this rumblings that, a mainstream publication is about to kind of drop the bombshell. It's like, all of us in independent media, we've been covering this story for a couple of years.
I have the same question. What makes them all of a sudden want to do journalism?
Yeah, now they're suddenly going to do some journalism.
Well, I think maybe they're doing it now because they think that it's against Trump. That's why you see people like Hakeem Jeffries saying that now for the first time as well. They couldn't give a damn about it when the Democrats were in charge, and people like Bill Clinton were the targets. But you raise a very important point, which is by when you mentioned Whitney Webb, which is just that this is not the first time at all that Israel has been accused of blackmailing the United States. And actually, I want to mention another academic, Aaron Good. He's done a lot of great work on this. So has Peter Dale Scott. But these allegations just really go back decades. Israeli and deep state kind of collaboration for this sort of clandestine activity. And Israel has, of course, admitted to some of it, but their official position, if you listen to them, it's repeated by Israel's, most loyal and devoted defenders like Ben Shapiro. It's that Israel officially stopped spying on the United States in the 1980s. But, everyone knows that's not true.
Yeah.
I interviewed John Kiriakou, you did as well, and he explains that the American security state considers Israel to be one of their top national security threats on par with Russia and China. And, his testimony is echoed by, the NSA internal documents that were published by Edward Snowden and Glenn Greenwald, which said the same thing, that, our strategic ally just aggressively spies on us all the time and is one of the top counterintelligence threats to the United States. And when I say this goes back decades, I really do mean it. The ADL was spying on Palestinian activists, writing dossiers for the Israeli government, working with the LAP to do it, through the 70s and 80s. It was unveiled in the 1990s. And then there's the allegations about another president, not this one, Trump, but Clinton. The Clinton administration publicly complained that they believed that the U.S. national security had been infiltrated by foreign spies, that they gave it the code name Mega, which actually is the name of Wexner's Israel lobby group. And the FBI put out this notice in 1997, and they said, we're being spied on, and they're probably giving it to Israel. And then you look at, too, Monica Lewinsky's testimony that she gave in 1999, I believe, to the Senate when she was deposed after the Lewinsky affair. And she was saying, Bill Clinton believed that a foreign embassy was spying on us. And, neocons like Daniel Halper have echoed those accusations separately as well, that the Israelis had all these tapes on Lewinsky, and that's why he signed the Iraq Liberation Act just very suddenly, starting a war in that country, exactly what Israel wanted us to do. And so, again, I think there's stuff there. It should be looked at. And you're right. No one has any questions about it. You guys do. But, corporate media doesn't want to look at all. But it's all right in plain sight.
Well, Ted Cruz, our loyalist to Israel, says we just spy on each other. That's just how it goes. Was his, so, this narrative that they don't spy on us is just laughable. Even their loyal puppy dog admitted they do, and he's fine with that. So there you go. There's your answer to that, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think would happen if there was irrefutable evidence then that there is this Mossad connection, and what could it possibly look like? The evidence.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it could be because this stuff hasn't really been revealed before. It's kind of hard to prove. Whenever these intelligence agencies do this sort of criminal activity, they use shell companies. There's actually very great journalism about this. Like Seth Harp is a reporter at Rolling Stone that's uncovered a bunch of that, where CIA links to drug groups and whatnot, chartering different flights. Sometimes they'll match the tail of the plane to planes that the CIA used during the extraordinary rendition program, and they'll match it to cartel members and that kind of stuff. So that's the sort of evidence that you see for sort of criminal activity from the clandestine state. But the problem is it's all done in secret. And this has just been the problem, I think, since the War on Terror and really this era that's started in the 1990s, where we know very little about what our government does, and they know absolutely everything about us. They have Palantir lists on us, and we can't even get any information about this Epstein list that they've had in their possession for 5 years. So I have no idea.
Yeah. So was Epstein a powerful Mossad agent for Israel running a pedophile child trafficking operation to blackmail people? And
but the questions are incriminating enough. So even one answer, I feel like, would help us make a strong connection. So here we go. We're waiting.
All right. Well, we'll keep our eye on this. Harrison, great to see you as always. Thank you for your reporting on this. We're going to wait to see what mainstream media publication drops this bombshell in short order and what it actually entails. Right. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.